Alrighty, it is 1 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and get things started right on time. We have people who are still joining us, and that is okay. Um, but I know we have a lot of information to share with you today, so I want to go ahead and get things started. Before I pass things over to Jeff, I just want to point out if you're joining us on Zoom, we have the Q&A feature. If you see that down at the bottom of your window, go ahead and open that up. That will be the best place to ask questions. Jeff will be answering questions at the end of the presentation. So go ahead and type your questions in the Q&A section, not in the chat. Just make things easier if we put all questions together. Use the chat for if you have any comments or suggestions that you want to add, that's great. In the Q&A, if you see a comment or a question that you also want answered, go ahead and give it an upvote. That tells us that it's most important. If you are watching us on social media, you can go ahead and leave your questions in the comments, and we'll make sure that those are fielded to Jeff so we get those answers for you as well. That's all I have right now. I'll share some other ACT events coming up at the end, but I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Jeff so he can get started. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Appreciate that. Welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Whitlow. I'm the head of sales here at CourseStorm. I just shared my screen. I'm going to walk through a quick presentation today, share a little bit of a demo of CourseStorm to get everybody a little bit more educated about what CourseStorm is all about. I'm super excited to be here today and show you more about the platform and really how it has helped and can help theater programs across the country. We work with many of them, which I'll share in a minute here. And our focus is really helping on saving time within programs and helping you grow your enrollments. Our company, just a little bit about our company. I'll have another slide here in a second about that. Our company is based in the beautiful state of Maine. I know we were asking about weather. Pretty excited that most of our snow is pretty much melted off the ground, and it's over 50 degrees today. So I'm looking forward to getting outside here later this afternoon and probably taking the dogs for a walk. So I've worked personally at CourseStorm for the last 5 years. And I've worked with a lot of theaters, really probably hundreds of arts and culture organizations in that time that I've spent here at CourseStorm, and really helping them sort of streamline, their registration process for classes, camps, and workshops, which again, you're going to learn a little bit more about today. So let me just share a little bit about who CourseStorm is. Some of you may be familiar with CourseStorm, have heard of us before. Some may be the first time you've ever heard of CourseStorm here. So CourseStorm was founded in 2015. So we're coming up on nearly a decade in business. We've always focused on really a simple but powerful idea that people deserve accessible and affordable education. And at our inception, we noticed that a lot of existing software systems were putting up barriers to learning, and we wanted to help sort of break down those barriers. And that was preventing people from getting, the sometimes just the fun education, or in some markets also really important education they need to continue in perhaps different career paths and stuff as well too. But the solution that CourseStorm delivers really makes it impossibly easy for students and parents to discover and register for classes and camps. We view ourselves as more than just a software company, as sort of a couple of these points here talk about. Our mission at CourseStorm is to streamline access to education to empower personal growth. In the arts, we see this as a huge opportunity from children to adults. Arts and culture organizations like all of you here on this call today are offering amazing educational opportunities, and we want your students and parents to easily access that programming. And we want to break down those barriers to entry, like I talked about before. We're doing this today. So as I said, we've been in business for many years, and we're doing this. We've connected over 1 million people to education so far, with a goal to connect 3 million students to education by the end of 2025. Lastly, you'll see in our demo today, we'll talk a lot about this, but our focus is on saving your program time and helping grow enrollments. So we know theaters. We work with theaters across the country. This is just a couple that I randomly found and placed their logos on here that are already using CourseStorm. We know and understand your business very well. Today, as CourseStorm, we have just over 800 customers that are using our platform. Again, many are in this direct market. And you may ask, like, why do theaters fit so well for CourseStorm? So most community theaters, offer some sort of education component, either classes for adults, kids, and or camp registration. We saw a huge uptick in this actually post-COVID as well too. And actually most of the community theaters that thrived or continued to thrive post-COVID was because of their education component that they had. For some programs, the majority of programs actually that we see, education programming is a big piece of their everyday business. And the current software solution that many of these theaters offer is not a solid fit. In most cases, we see, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a couple slides, but most cases we see that community theaters are trying to take a square peg and sort of mash that into a round hole to sort of help with the registration of classes, workshops, and camps. So let's talk a little bit more about that as far as current software solutions. Let's talk about software solutions within your organizations. So I think of these as sort of some key buckets of software that you have today within your theaters already. So typically, if you think about live shows and sort of the type of software you use for that, obviously that's a ticketing software. Most of you are probably using some level of ticketing software that's helping with, reserve seating, selling to events, selling multiple tickets, those types of things, and many other things that sometimes come included with ticketing software. There's also a bucket for donor management as well too, which helps, as you all know, solicit for donations and track donors. And then there's also this sort of third bucket, this red one here, that's sort of focused on the patron management as well. And that sometimes can be referred to as a CRM, but that keeps track of all your patron data. And sometimes there are software solutions out there that do all three of these all in one. Sometimes there are software solutions that you may have a ticketing software that also does, the patron management, or again, you might have one that does all three as well. What's often missing, though, that we find is that there's a dedicated solution for education. And that sort of fourth bucket for education of classes, workshops, and camps we find can sometimes be, as I mentioned, sort of that square peg, round hole solution that you might be using. I sort of categorized them on this slide here to kind of give you sort of an idea, and some of these logos may look familiar. But many of these solutions we see that theaters are using for their classes, camps, registration often fall into one of these five areas. So again, there's ticketing, there's theater management, that's CRM donor solutions we talked about. There's event management, scheduling solutions, and even online forms are sometimes used as well. So nothing against any of these software solutions. Many of these companies offer tremendously awesome softwares. But the big thing they all have in common is that none of them are really designed for camp and class registration. So just talk about a couple of these. We won't get into all of these, obviously, but ticketing. If you just think about ticketing software, it's great for live shows, like we talked about, selling multiple seats. Those reserve seats, show it has the ability to show a lot of great attributes for your program. But again, it misses the mark specifically on classes and camps. Where does it miss the mark, you may be asking? So oftentimes it creates a really confusing user experience for people that are registering for classes, specifically around family registrations. So you might be registering your child for a camp, or maybe you have multiple children trying to register for a camp, and you sell them a ticket and you only obtain sometimes the parents' information. That can be very frustrating and confusing to the people registering, to the registrants. There's no waitlisting often in ticketing software. There's no ability to collect information. So if you need emergency contact information, food allergies, all that kind of stuff that's important for a class, it is a much different experience if you think about buying tickets to a show versus registering for a class. There are no reminders oftentimes, and there's also no payment plans. And again, by design, right? These are ticketing platforms that are designed for a totally different need. Theater management solutions. So these are also really great organizations. Many of these you're probably very familiar with. Programs like Spectrix, Patron Manager, Neon One, Audience View, Tessitura, Little Green Light, just to name a few that are in this sort of bucket up here to the right. Many of these offer those multiple bucket solutions we talked about before, where they have, the CRM, the donor management, and ticketing all built in there. But they even would admit that they miss the mark sometimes on class and camp registrations as well. So other common solutions we see in this space, Eventbrite, which is sort of down here under event management, right under my blue dot there. These event Bright will admit that they're designed pretty much as a ticketing software, great for small concerts and small events you might be running. Google Forms, under online forms, you'll find that many theaters have tried to use a free solution like Google Forms, which again creates a really poor user experience, and for many different reasons we won't get into. Other form systems out there that are more paid solutions, like FormStack, again, designed with certain intent, but not designed specifically for class camp registrations. So overall, again, not going through all of these, but overall, these solutions leave your registrants confused and frustrated if you're using some sort of solution for classes and camps. Remember, it usually makes up a pretty good portion of your business, and you're trying to fit that square peg into a round hole. Some may even not register because of the frustration level they feel that they go through in this process. And again, not to mention that these software solutions, they're creating frustration on the registrant side. They're also creating a huge time suck and frustration on your team internally as well too. And that's really where CourseStorm can help. So let's talk a little bit about CourseStorm here. So CourseStorm is specifically designed for classes, workshops, camps. Again, that education bucket that we talked about. There's a couple of key things to call out. I'm going to go through a product demonstration here in just a second. But I wanted to highlight some really key pieces of what makes CourseStorm unique. Things like rosters and wait lists. Really, really important that you have this sort of data at your fingertips. Both you and your instructors have that information at your fingertips. And also just waitlist in general can be a huge revenue driver for your organization. If you're not collecting waitlist data today, you're missing out on opportunities of people that are interested in your programming that they will not call in typically and want to add themselves to a waitlist. They want an easy way to do that that's automated through our system. Other things to call out, things like waitlist management, just the ability, not just having a waitlist functionality, but the ability for your team to manage that waitlist on the back end is also really key in making that really simple and easy without having to track down people that are on the waitlist, being able to send them a link that expires and allow them to register themselves on the waitlist is really awesome. Automated receipts and reminders is another key piece as well too. Again, that a lot of those other solutions miss out on. So when somebody registers, automatically they get a receipt. Those receipts and reminders can also be customized with important information about the class or camp they might be registering for. There's also, as I talked about, custom form questions built into CourseStorm. So that gives the ability for your program to ask any question you want and collect any data that you need to. And those can also be really specific to each individual class. So an adult class, you would ask different questions than a child's class as well. Things like shopping cart experience, registering friends and family all together. So I may want to register my wife and I for a class at a local theater, and then I also want to register one of my children for summer camp coming up. I can do all of that in one transaction, and you on your end of the side of things are going to know exactly who's coming to what class because it's all designed with kids and adult registrations in mind. Speaking of kids registrations, we also added our fairly new feature called age gating, which I wanted to highlight as well too. That's designed for programming. Many theaters are offering youth programming, and it's designed for certain age groups. So automatically, CourseStorm will age gate those based on the date of birth of the student that's registering. Again, none of these features you're going to find in any of those other software solutions that we talked about. These features are all designed to create a really simple user experience. Again, we want to reduce that barrier of entry. But as I talked about, they're also designed to save your program hundreds of hours each year. We see it, we hear it almost every single day from programs that are using CourseStorm, how much time they're saving. It's almost like they've hired multiple people to manage these types of registrations. And then also we focus on growth. Just having a simple, easy to use registration process will help your program grow. Not only that, but we also have some really great features built into CourseStorm, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes that are focused around helping your program grow. So I want to take the next few minutes and kind of walk through a quick demo of CourseStorm and give you an idea of what it looks like. So I'm going to first switch my share screen over. I'm just getting that pulled down on my other screen here. Bear with me. But I'd like to sort of walk through what CourseStorm is, and I'm going to show it from the registrant experience. So imagine, if you will, kind of take your administrator hats off if you're working in theaters today, and sort of take a look at this from what somebody would come to register for this type of programming. So first of all, I just want to highlight that this is just a sort of a theater that I made up here for this demo to kind of give you an idea of how it would look. But this CourseStorm is not designed to take the place at all of your theater's website. It's designed typically to link directly to that education component that you probably already have listed on your website. The beauty of this is that you do not need to continue to manage that part of the website. As classes, for example, start, it automatically comes out of the catalog that you're going to see in a second. It really requires a little to no management other than building your classes when you first get started with CourseStorm and you start to build out your different seasonal catalogs. The other important thing to note as well too is that we do have the ability to integrate this even more into your website. So I won't dive too deep into that today, but if you're using different types of websites, WordPress, for example, is one that we have a really cool integration with, and there are other ways to build it if you're even not using a WordPress site. You can build that into your existing website. So let's dive into this here. So this is sort of the landing page of CourseStorm. So if this was your theater, students and parents will be coming to this page here to find classes, and they can first search for classes with keywords in this box here. They can go in and see some highlighted featured classes here. They can even browse by categories down here as well too. So this is all customizable, to your individual program. So these are just some examples that I built out here. Additionally, if I click into, let's say I want to browse all classes, you'll notice that I can view every single class or camp that might be in this particular theater's catalog. So this just has 4 built in here, but if you have 400, I would be able to view all 400 classes that would be available in this catalog. I can sort them like alphabetically by price, or the default is just sorting it by date. So this one happens to be coming up on March 17th. And it gives me some details, specifically what the name of the class is, the price, who is the instructor for that class, and then also the dates of that class. This is that age gating feature that I was talking about. So automatically I turn this on for this youth class here, and it's going to allow only students that are in the age of 8 to 12 from when that class starts to be able to register for that. You'll also see some other alerts that pop up, things like this class is full. So again, if I'm the registrant, I can see, oh shoot, I can't get into Disney camp or get my child into Disney camp. But I could, for example, click on this class, and this is where that waitlist functionality comes in as well too. Excuse me. So if I wanted to add myself to the wait list, no need to have to call the program and put my name on some other separate list. This will all track within the system. And then once this class starts, as I mentioned, it automatically will remove itself from the catalog. So it won't be viewable there. You'll also see some other messages like the class will run. So if you want to set a minimum for the class, then you can easily have those type of functionality show up there as well. One last thing I'll just mention is that if you have particular instructors you want to highlight in that description of the class, you can also add like links to Janelle's profile that you have on your website, or even a separate document can be linked into that. So let's walk through this registration experience. So if I come into the class page, just to highlight, a lot of that same information I just talked about carries over into the class page. So here's the image of that class. Here is the name of the class, the instructor, the price, the age gating information. Here is also the description of that class, and the dates and times of that class show up here as well. Location, if it's a physical class in person, we'll give the location of that. I can get directions to that class. If it's an online class, we also have that functionality as well. And then this is what we call urgency messages. So if I want to create some urgency, automatically the system will set this up where it says there's 4 days left to register. So registration is going to close pretty quickly on this class in the next 4 days. Once it gets within 24 hours, it'll actually go to a 24-hour clock, count right down to the last second, and then automatically it'll change over to a wait list for the registrants as well. We also create urgency around number of seats remaining. So if this class only has 15 seats in this class, once it gets within 5, it'll count that down to all the way down to 0 seats. And again, give that ability to waitlist. So if I click on register from here, now I'm already logged in, but typically first time, I should say, excuse me, registering, then what'll happen is I'll ask for some basic information, and they just simply set up an account very simply in our system. Now you'll notice that because I'm already logged in, it's sort of bringing up anybody that's in my profile. The one thing you'll notice though is that actually my name does not appear here. So normally if this was an adult class I was registering for, you'd see a little avatar for myself up above here. But this class knows, or the system has been designated to know that this is a kids class. So it only allows me to register children that might be underneath my account. I can easily add more children. Maybe I even want to register the kid next door. I could easily do that and pay for them all in one transaction as well. This is great, again, use case for kids classes. If I'm registering multiple kids for this particular class or camp, I can easily select them. We also have a shopping cart experience, which I'll talk about just in one second. But let's say I'm going to register Dylan for this class. That shopping cart experience is going to pop up next. This is going to say, do I want to continue browsing or do I want to check out? So if I wanted to register my other children for another class or camp, or maybe myself and my wife for a class or class that I want to take, I can continue to do that, throw it all into one cart and then check out as well. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to click on checkout there, and it's going to bring me right into what we call custom form questions. So I highlighted this earlier, but the difference between like buying a ticket is that you need to collect different information on the people that are coming to class. So these can be totally customizable for your program, and they can also be customizable on the class by class level. So I'll just fill in some quick information here. And again, I just built out a few examples here. Maybe I heard about this from a Facebook ad. Your program wants to track that. Any type of ethnicity or any type of questions like that that might be important for you to collect, you can easily do that. Questions can be required or optional. And again, if I was registering for a different type of class, it would probably ask me different types of questions, again, depending on how you build it out on the back end, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. Oh, I guess this class. Oh, because of the age. Sorry, that actually just sort of showed the age getting that threw me off for a second. But that just shows me that that particular person I tried to register was not of the right age. So didn't think of that as I was building this out. Give me 1 second here. I don't know the ages of not eligible by age, so that was a good highlight of that feature. Let's see if we can do this a little bit differently here. So I think I have it at 5 to 12. Let's go ahead and check out again. And we'll try to set the birth date more appropriately here. Let's see. And we'll just say, what do we say? 5? Yeah, this should be good. Somewhere in this range will be good. Again, we'll collect this sort of information. And we'll save this. And hopefully my math is right here. All right, perfect. So this brings me to the last screen here, which is our just our checkout screen. So built into CourseStorm, it's all the payment processing. No need to bring your own payment processor with you. Signing up for CourseStorm, make it really simple and easy. So again, the parent at this point would just simply enter their credit card information, and then they would complete the purchase. A couple things to highlight on the screen. You can do things like promo codes. So if you offer any type of scholarships, or just early bird specials or any type of discounting whatsoever, you can apply different promo codes in there. And then automatically the registrant would get a receipt email that will populate, and that receipt email again can be customizable. So if you have important information about this particular class that you want to include in that receipt, that is easily populated within CourseStorm. And then 2 days prior to the first class, they're also going to get a reminder email, and that also can come out via text. That's helpful to particular people like it via text, so that's the system has the ability to do that as well. All right, cool. That's sort of the student user experience. Let's talk a little bit about the back end of CourseStorm, which is also designed to be very simple and easy to use. So within the back end of CourseStorm, we'll just sort of toggle over to that now. You'll notice that this is sort of a catalog view. So I can see all the classes that I've built out in my catalog. Again, I have just 4 built out here. You can also create catalogs based on season, just to sort of help organize so you don't have 400 just continuous classes here. Multiple years and multiple seasons are easily built out as well. I'm going to first talk a little bit about just the roster management. So if I come into, let's just say this roster here for that magical storytelling class that we were looking at, I see all of the people that have registered for this particular class. So this is just a quick view of it. Just mention that you can also print this view, and then you can also do an export of data to Excel. So this will give you all of the information that they answered during registration in that Excel export. I'll also highlight that I can do a couple things here, both as an admin, and we also have an instructor level to CourseStorm, where I can send emails to those people that are on the roster. So just one click of the mouse here allows me to come in, create an email, and that all gets saved in the system as well too. But if it's a couple use cases for that, maybe it's weather, maybe something happened, maybe they need to bring something to class today, or a reminder that you just want to manually send them, I can easily do that here as both an administrator and as an instructor as well. Also, as an administrator, if I do have somebody that phones in a registration, we don't want you to have to keep those on a separate piece of paper or separate spreadsheet. You just simply log into CourseStorm on the back end, come to that particular roster that somebody's trying to register, that class they're trying to register for, and click on new registration, and it'll walk you through that same user experience that we saw on the front end to make that really simple and easy for either existing or new students that you may need to create. I will just come out of this one for a second. I wanted to highlight that this is the wait list. So similar to the view that we showed you with the roster, I have a separate roster, if you will, for waitlisting. So this is Terrell that's on the wait list for this class that happened to fill up. Now, if I talked about waitlist management, super important here. We do it very uniquely here at CourseStorm. So if I have a spot that's opened up and I want to send Terrell the ability to register now, I can actually send him an invite that has an expiring link. So this will be an email that he gets. I can set the link expiration date to whatever time frame, from 6 to 72 hours, and he'll get that email. He'll have that time frame to register automatically. He can do all the payment processing through that. So no more having to chase down, call him, try to track him down, all while you might have multiple people keeping on the wait list. You can do this. You could send this to all 5, 10 people that might be on the wait list as well too, and do sort of first come, first serve basis if you wanted to, or you can just manage them sort of one at a time by design that way. Going back in, I just wanted to, actually, let me go into a different one, sorry. I also wanted to highlight that we do have functionality around attendance. So if that's important for you for you and your instructors to take attendance, I can easily come in here and track attendance. Now, it doesn't have to be done just on a computer. I just wanted to highlight this can also be totally mobile friendly. So we built a whole back end of CourseStorm that's mobile friendly, and I can double click on people here to show that they attend or didn't attend. And very simply at that point, I can just add that attendance for this particular day on March 13th, and that will save in the system as well. And I can do obviously that for every single class. Multiple classes will be there, and it'll just simply show you a list like this. So it would show a list of different days and what percentage of people attended that particular class. So another really cool feature, again, available to administrators and instructors, and again, can be done on even a mobile device. Couple last things to just highlight here, and then I'm going to go back to just a couple last slides that I have, is the ability to build classes. So there's a couple ways to build a class, and I'm going to use this magical storytellers again to sort of show you. But if you're building a brand new class, you'd come up here and just simply add a class to your catalog. And then the first step that's going to pop up is called info and photo. So info and photo, we have full imagery built into CourseStorm. These are all royalty-free images that you can use. You can also use your own images as well. You just simply name the class. Here's the class amount. Here's the instructor. Here's all the details of that particular class that I wanted to put in there. Again, I can feature it. Those are those 5 that are scrolling through that first landing page. If it's a kids class, I just identify that. This is the age gating that automatically turns on for kids classes. You'll also note, I should have showed you on the front end, but also note that the language changes a little bit for kids classes. So it'll say like parents email versus student email. So it does change some of that language automatically. And then where the location of the class is, again, if it's online or at any particular location. If you have multiple locations, that's not a problem. So that's sort of step 1. Step 2 is going to be scheduling. So what is this class? Or is it a one-day class? Maybe it just runs on one day. Maybe it runs over multiple weeks. Does it run every day of the week, or is it certain days of the week? And then simply pick your time there as well. Very intuitive and easy. The third step is going to be the available seats. How many seats are available? What is the minimum that you want for that class to run? And then when do you want registrations to end is the third one. And the fourth required step is categories. So you can, again, create any type of categories. If I just want to create a whole brand new one right here, I could easily do that by simply typing in that free form box. Lastly, the last step in here is payment plans. So payment plans simply allow, these are totally automated, allow your program to, again, reduce that barrier of entry. I specifically find this useful for summer camps that are $400 or $500 sometimes. I've been in that situation with 2 kids of my own and trying to register them for summer camps. That is a challenging time to get that full payment done. So this allows simply your program to designate the amount that you want for a deposit to hold their spot for that class. The beauty of this is it requires no work. Again, we don't want you to lift a finger on this. So automatically, CourseStorm is going to schedule those payments for them, and we're going to take those payments out on whatever the schedule gets set. This is sort of my, I think, I think a really cool feature, I would say, this auto schedule payments is it depends on when somebody's registering and what their payment schedule will be set. The system is smart enough to figure all that out for you, so you don't have to do that. But if you prefer to do more custom scheduling of payments, you can do that also as well too. We also just highlight that we send an email if there's ever a problem with the payment. We send an email to the registrant to let them know there was a problem with that payment, and we give them a link to actually add a new card to their profile as well. One other thing about adding classes, I'll just highlight, you can also do this in bulk. So if you're a larger theater and you have a ton of classes and you're like, oh gosh, building those one by one would be really, really challenging for me. The great news is you can build them in Excel, and then you can do a bulk import of all that class data with with just a couple clicks, I should say, will pull that data into your catalog and you'd be done there. Tons of other data lives in CourseStorm. I'm not going to go too in depth here just for the sake of time, but we do have all the registration data. We do have all the student data that lives in here. So it works as sort of like a mini CRM system. I'm going to talk a minute here about some reporting capabilities and marketing as well too. Let me shift back to my original screen here. Bear with me for 1 second. All right. So just to wrap up, a couple last slides here, and then we'll be finishing up in just the next couple minutes. So there is a ton of capability in the system around reporting. So happy to show this in more of a customized demo with you all, but I mentioned it that a lot of reports are exportable in Excel, so there's a lot of flexibility there. We are also working on some cutting edge enhancements using AI as well too, but this is all real-time data. And very easy for you all to manipulate that data and view that data in multiple ways within CourseStorm, and again to exporting some of that data as well too. I mentioned in the beginning a lot about growth, just to sort of highlight some of those key things. Some of these I've already talked about, but creating a really frictionless registration experience alone creates tons of growth for your program. You wouldn't even begin to think about like how many people will leave your website because they are frustrated with that experience that you may be providing them now. There's a ton of marketing features. I'm going to talk about one on the next slide here that help with growth that are designed specifically in CourseStorm to help with that. There are also things like abandoned cart reminders or low enrollment. If you've ever had a class not make its minimum, we can actually help grow those enrollments and get more people interested in that class as well too. There's individual class URLs, which is helpful if you're promoting your classes on social media. And then I already talked about the waitlist management as well too. And just being able to have a functional waitlist is huge for growth. One particular growth feature I want to highlight is called automated marketing. This feature alone in CourseStorm generates about 14% growth on average. So we've seen as much as 50% growth in some programs, but essentially what it is, it's a recommendation engine. The way I sort of equate it, or people are familiar with it, is anytime you shop online nowadays, you'll notice that it'll make recommendations of other things that people who buy item A will typically buy item B. We don't do it during the registration experience, but we do it via email afterwards. So this is an example of what that email will look like. It obviously is mobile friendly, which is what we're showing here. But that makes recommendations of other classes. So if you offer a pretty robust catalog, let's say I register my kids always for classes at your theater, it's going to continue to make recommendations of other classes. As you put new classes into your catalog, CourseStorm will automatically send this email to people and make recommendations of those particular classes versus somebody else maybe taking adult classes. So their recommendations are going to be totally different. So there's no two emails that are the same. It'll just make suggested class recommendations here. And if I was somebody receiving this email, I could simply click on that class. It'll bring in the email. It'll bring me right to the class page where I can register as well. So a couple last things here. Just want to highlight that in this particular space, we do have some partners that we work with. Spectrix, if you're using Spectrix as sort of your system of record for ticketing and donor management and sort of that all three bucket that we talked about in the beginning, we have an integration with them that allows you to push data from CourseStorm directly back into your Spectrix system. Same thing with Patron Manager. Again, very similar to Spectrix. We have a direct integration with Patron Manager that pulls that data from CourseStorm all the student registration data directly back into Patron Manager. So those create that sort of one system of record for you. You don't have to keep that information separate. And then we also have an integration with Little Greenlight, which is a small donor management system that many programs may be using. So if that's sort of your system of record system, we do have an integration there as well too. So just wanted to quickly highlight that. So you might be wondering how much all this costs. So let's quickly go through that. So the way that CourseStorm works, it's designed so that there are no contracts, no minimums, and it's totally transactional. This is awesome for nonprofit organizations. There's essentially a small percentage fee that we pull off of each registration that comes through the system. And then you also pay credit card processing fees, as you would with any solution that's out there as well too. And we ask that your student pay a small registration fee each time they register as well too. So for your organization, simply this percentage fee and credit card processing fees is what you're sort of responsible for. Many organizations build this pricing directly into their classes, so you can use CourseStorm completely free. That's what sort of this message is talking about here. So there's a lot of flexibility. The other great news, as I mentioned, because it is transactional, if you don't run classes, maybe you only run summer classes. So in those off months, it will cost you absolutely nothing to use our software. Only as you take registrations do these fees apply. And it costs absolutely nothing to get started as well too. So we're going to get you set up in the system. You can take some time to get set up, and during that time frame, you're paying absolutely nothing until the first registrations start rolling in. So let's talk a little bit about the percentage fee here. You may be wondering what that's like. So we're running a promotion for anybody that's part of the AACT, where we have a couple of different pricing tiers. Everything we talked about today, a lot of those advanced features like the reporting, the automated marketing, instructor access, and payment plans, and a whole bunch of other things fall into this pro tier. But for a limited time, we're going to offer members of this organization to get the pro tier at the core price. So you're going to get it at a discounted rate for the first year. And if you're interested in learning more and certainly doing a demo of CourseStorm, we can help talk that through with you a little bit more by just simply emailing us sales@coursestorm.com. I do want to quickly just wrap up with implementation, talk about the timing, because I hear so often that programs are like, this all sounds great, but I don't have months and months to implement this, and then we're short on staff and limited resources. So CourseStorm is designed with that in mind. Typically, all the way from onboarding to launching your registrations, no more than 2 to 4 weeks on average. I've even had programs that have got up and running in a matter of days as well too. So very easy implementation. If I haven't sold you at all on CourseStorm to this point, I just wanted to also offer that CourseStorm allows you to try our system completely risk-free, peace of mind here. We offer a guarantee that we will significantly enhance your registration process, drive substantial enrollment growth for your program, save your program valuable time. And if we don't do those things or any of those things for you, you can cancel anytime within the first year, and we'll refund all of your fees back to you as well. So with that, I will pause, take a breath, and take on some Q&A questions. Let me check what we have for Q&A there. Okay, somebody was asking about age gating. And remember, if you do have questions, feel free to put them into the Q&A section. Let me pull this down so I'm not looking away from everybody. So age gating, somebody was asking about age gating. Is it based on age, or can we track grade level and use information instead? It is currently just based on age. As I mentioned, it is designed for the start of class for that age group. I will mention though that you can take manual registrations and override age gating. So if you do have that one particular student that might be a little bit more advanced, but they're a little bit younger, you can certainly take that and override that registration on the back end as well too. All right, somebody else was asking about the cost of the platform. I think we've answered that one. I would recommend also for like an exact price quote, it's a little bit tricky because it is transactional. We'll be happy to chat with you, go through a full demo of your needs and the platform with you, and give you a actual price quote for it as well too. Can you change students from one class to another class easily? Absolutely. So we have the ability to transfer students. So you can move students, does not have to be the same price class or anything crazy like that. You can easily move one student to another class with the transfer functionality. Didn't get into the back end either, but we also can do the same thing for refunding students. If you do have the need to refund a student, you can easily take that registration and process a refund through our system. It's literally one click to do that refund, and automatically we send them a notification via email that they've been refunded, and also process that credit card directly through our system as well too. You don't have to do that separately. Okay, somebody was asking about, would you go over what the 4% for AACT members was? Again, please. Yeah, so the pricing structure, again, let me see if I can pull up that slide real quick. The pricing structure for CourseStorm is a percentage fee plus credit card processing, and then that's sort of what your organizations are responsible for. So that percentage fee at our pro level would normally be 6%. For AACT members, we're offering it to you at 4%. So just a little bit of incentive for the folks here as part of the membership. Okay. What can instructors do with CourseStorm? Oh, sorry, let me go back to my slide here. What can instructors do with CourseStorm? Do they have to be set up as an admin? No, we actually have an instructor level of access to our system. So admins can pretty much do everything. For example, they can see the financial information, they can process refunds and transfers and all those sort of things. Instructors, we want them to have more limited access to the system. So currently what they can do is view their rosters, they can print their rosters, they can take attendance, as I mentioned, on mobile device or within any sort of system. And they can send notifications to their students as well. So if they want to send an email, again, class is coming up tomorrow, please bring XYZ to class, they can do that, and they can only do that and see that information for the classes they're assigned to as well. So yeah, it's pretty structured within our system. We don't want to give them full open access to everything. And some programs don't want instructors to have any access. That's okay as well too. You can certainly limit access totally from them if you prefer. Huge time saver though. Giving access to instructors is a huge time saver for many programs. Let's see. I'll pause there. No other questions at this time in the Q&A. I'll pass it back to David maybe at this point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jeff. It was exciting when you were showing at the very beginning your slide with all the theaters. It was great to see my home theater, the Des Moines Playhouse, up there. I know they recently switched, and we currently have 45 classes open for registration. So I know that this program works for education programs of all sizes. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to all of our attendees for joining. I hope you learned something new. I hope you'll look into CourseStorm if you're looking for that education software. I think that's wonderful. And I hope to see you at a future ACT event. We have a few coming up that I want to mention. Next week, we have our members only roundtable. We're discussing women in leadership. That's going to be a wonderful conversation facilitated and moderated by Emily Anderson. And then coming up in April, we have our virtual community theater management conference. We have 2 different options for you based on the West Coast and East Coast. So depending on your time zone, we want to make sure that you get the most out of that. It's a great opportunity to learn from organizations all around the country. If you have any other questions, reach out to us at any time or visit aact.org for everything that we have going on. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.